Hey, this is Poncho Sanchez. I rock jazz. Well, for me, I'm the youngest of 11 kids. All my brothers and sisters are still alive today and doing well. So what happened for us is we were all born down in Laredo, Texas, and I moved to Los Angeles, California when I was about 4 years old. And my brothers and sisters caught the first wave of the mambo and cha-cha-cha music that came from Cuba, Puerto Rico, New York City to Los Angeles, California in the mid-50s. And they started learning to dance the mambo and cha-cha-cha. So my brothers and sisters bought the early Machito records, Tito Puente records, Tito Rodriguez, and Cal Tjader records. And I was just a little boy growing up with that in my house every day. So those were my first influences, Machito, Tito Rodriguez, Tito Puente, Mongo Santa Maria, Cal Tjader. That's how I started learning about this music, what we call Latin jazz nowadays. Like I said, I was born in Laredo, Texas, this side of the border, although my mother and father were from Mexico, and we were all born in Laredo, Texas, which is on this side of the Rio Grande. And, but you know, it was down south there in Texas, and they mostly spoke Spanish, of course, in Laredo, which they still do. When we moved to Los Angeles, California in 1954, I was 3.5 years old. That's where we got exposed to jazz and black gospel music and rhythm and blues, and then of course what they call salsa nowadays. In those days, that word hadn't been used yet. They called it música cubana, which is Cuban music, or música latina, which is Latin music, or they just called the music the mambo or the cha-cha-cha in those days. Now they call it salsa, and of course Afro-Cuban music and Latin jazz. But you know, it was rather difficult for me, not only dealing with African Americans trying to learn to play jazz and trying to accept a Mexican American like me that they couldn't believe that I knew about that music, and not only that, the Latino people like the Cubans and the Puerto Ricans. I used to go to a park and jam on Sundays, just a big park, and there was a group of Cuban guys playing and Puerto Rican guys playing up on a hill, and they sounded really good. And I wanted to sit in with them because they sounded good and they were jamming. And I tapped the guy on the shoulder, and of course I talked to him in Spanish. He was a Cuban guy, and I tapped him on the shoulder when he was playing. I said, "Hey man, can I sit in? Can I play?" And he told me, "Are you Cuban?" And he was playing, and I said, "No." He goes, "Are you Puerto Rican?" And I said, "No." He goes, "What are you?" And I said, "I'm a Mexican American. I'm a Chicano." And then he looked at me and goes, "Mexican Americans can't play congas." And he kept playing, you know. And I thought, wow, all right, you know. And that's Latino people were against me. And then what happened is he got up for a minute to go grab a beer or drink of water or something. As soon as he got up from the quinto, which is a small solo conga drum, I jumped on his spot and I started soloing. And then he stepped back and listened to me for a minute. And I played for about 5 or 10 minutes, you know. And after I finished playing, he goes, "Wow, man, you really sound good, man." And he told me, he goes, "Your father must be Cuban, right?" I go, "No, well, your mother has to be a Puerto Rican." I said, "No, they're from Mexico. I'm a Chicano," you know what I mean? He goes, "Wow, that's the first Chicano I ever heard play like that before." So even with my own people, I had, you know, problems getting in the door, you know what I'm saying? And even to take it a step further, the first time I ever went to New York City, which was about 25 years ago or so, with my band, we played at the Village Gate in New York. And that night we were there at the Village Gate. Tito Puente was sitting right in the front seat. Caco, the great timbal player, was there. The great Carlos Patata Valdez was sitting in the front. Manny Oquendo, the great timbal. Those are our heroes. Those were our heroes. And we thought they were just coming to, you know, check us out and be happy with us, you know what I mean? But they weren't there. They were there to check us out to see if we really could play. because we were Mexican Americans who came from Los Angeles to play at the Village Gate in New York City, and they really didn't know they believed that we could do it or not. And they were there after the first set. We were hanging with them, man. And after that, got very close to Tito Puente and Patato, and now they're all gone, man. Those are my heroes, you know what I mean? Well, you know, for me, you run into good and bad times all the time, and everybody does in their lives, and musicians do too, and especially musicians do. So there's a lot of highs, a lot of lows. But for me, definitely one of the highs was when I joined the Cal Jader Band in 1975 on New Year's Eve. I joined the Cal Jader Band, and I was with Cal Jader for 7.5 years. And I was with Cal Jader until the day he died. As a matter of fact, today is Cinco de Mayo. Cal Jader died 30 years ago today in Manila in the Philippine Islands, and I was with him when he died. We were supposed to perform in Manila, and he didn't make it. I mean, he was there. We had been there only for one day, and he passed away the next day. When we got there, it was Cinco de Mayo 30 years ago. So talking about hitting a wall, well, I definitely hit a wall there because I was with Cal Jader's band for 7.5 years. I was so excited and thrilled to be with the Cal Jader Band. I really didn't think about having my own band. I just wanted to be with Cal Jader's band. Although I had my band like on the side, so to speak, I already had done one recording on my own, under my own name, Poncho, the record called Poncho on the Discovery record label, when I was with Cal Jader's band. But I was excited just to be Cal Jader's conga drummer, and I could have did that for the rest of my life. But it ends up that, of course, Cal Jader died, and when I got home from Manila about a week later, it was like somebody pulled a carpet from underneath me. It was just, I lost one of my best friends, Cal Jader. I lost one of my heroes in life. I lost my musical father, actually, Cal Jader. And I lost my job that day too. And my wife was just pregnant with our second child. And just a week before, I was so excited that she was pregnant for our second child. And a week later, I didn't have a job. So I wasn't so happy about having that second child no more. And then Cal, and it was rough because Cal died. You know, it's not like, wow, I'll get another job. How are you gonna get another job like Cal Jader's band, you know? Well, long story short, yeah, I definitely hit the wall there. And as a matter of fact, I fell into a depression stage for it took a while, like 1.5 years. I was suffering with depression behind losing Cal Jader. It was a really tough time for me. And that was 30 years ago today. So that was about 82 or something like that, right? So yeah, definitely hit the wall there. But from that, I believe in the Lord. I think the Lord does certain things to you to teach you stuff. And I had to pick up the pieces, do it myself, find my own way, and find my own sound and my own style of playing. And so I took what I've learned from Cal Jader. I took what I learned from Tito Puente. I took what I learned from Poncho Santamaria. I took from people like Eddie Cano, great piano player from Los Angeles, and I put it to use with my band and started creating my own style and my own sound. So, I've definitely had some ups and downs like everybody else. Man, there's so many great stories in my life now, because I've had my own band for 32 years, my own band, and I've been in this business professionally since 1975. So I've been doing this for a while, and there's been so many great moments. I mean, the first time I ever met Dizzy Gillespie, the first time he ever played with us, I got video footage of Dizzy playing with my band in Sardinia, Italy. That was the first time he actually played with my band. And, we had worked together before. He played with Cal Jader's band before, but he actually played with my band that year. And so that was definitely a high note there. And, the first time Poncho Santamaria ever played with my band. As a matter of fact, the last time Poncho Santamaria ever played was with my band at Carnegie Hall, and he was not scheduled to play that night. Mongo came to see my band. He was just going to be in the audience. And when I seen him come in, of course, they brought him to my dressing room, and I was taping up my hands like I did just a little while ago. I was taping up my hands, and Mongo was watching me tape my hands. And I told Mongo, remember when I used to watch you tape your hands? And he had a big smile on his face. He goes, yeah. And I told him in Spanish, Maestro, ¿tú quieres tocar esta noche? I told him, teacher, maestro, teacher, do you want to play this night? Do you want to play tonight? And he smiled at me. He told me, Poncho, si tú quieres, yo toco contigo. And he said, Poncho, if you want me to, I'll play with you tonight. And I smiled and I told Mongo, you're going to leave it to me? I said, there ain't no question. Of course I want you to play, man. He got the tape and started taping his hands immediately. Like he didn't skip a beat, you know what I mean? He started taping his hands, and next thing I knew, Mongo was a surprise guest at Carnegie Hall, and we played Afro Blue, which is his composition. And that was the last time he ever played, because he died a few weeks after that. Well, you know, for the young musicians that are coming up today, it's tough because the pioneers were the great ones, and they always will be. John Coltrane, you know, Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, Chano Pozo, you know, Mongo Santa Maria. These guys are the greatest in the world. To me, I could never be as great as them. That's just the way I feel. Those guys are my heroes in life, you know. But for young guys coming up today, I would say, yeah, you know, there's room for you, but you got to make sure you know your instrument very, very well, know your music very well, study the history of the music very well, and get bits and pieces from some of your heroes, because that's what I did. I got some of the Cal Jader style of music in my music. I got some of the Mongo Santa Maria styling of the way he played the congas. So I took from Ray Barretto's band, different ideas, influences that I loved. That's what I did, and you can do it, but you got to gather from different bits and pieces from different areas, and then try to come up with your own concept, your own sound, your own style. I myself personally just hope that some of these young musicians just don't get too watered down or too commercialized, where they just want to start making money and find a little gimmick, because that's not where it's at. It's in your heart, and you want to play from your soul and from your heart, and you want to know your instrument very well.